happy Friday, and thanks for tuning in to RadioFreeRhinecliff.org and this show in particular. Correct me if I'm Norm. I'm your host, Norm. I'm thrilled to be here tonight with Jessie Lee Montague, a.k.a. JLM. Mm-hmm. The notorious JLM.
The notorious JLM.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
So I told you just before we came in, I saw this John Burton fundraiser for Radio Free Rhinecliff a week or two ago up there at the fabulous Morton Library. Mm-hmm. And he had himself and 3 other singer-songwriters on stage performing their own work. And you were, for me, far and away the most impressive. I was just blown away, and other people I spoke to in the audience, at how good it was. It was such world-class stuff.
Wow.
So thank you.
Yeah,
and thanks for bringing your guitar, and you brought a cocktail for us to enjoy. Let's dive right into the booze.
Yeah, of course. That's how I roll.
What did you bring?
So I brought a homemade spicy margarita.
Okay.
So I'm from Nuevo Mexico.
Okay.
So I'm all about the margarita.
Yeah.
And so this has fresh lime, fresh lemon, hornitos, silver hornitos, and jalapenos from my garden.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's
Applause
delicious.
from the Peanut Gallery.
Yeah, they're so grateful.
And now you're from New Mexico, right?
I am, yes.
And how old were you when you left there?
I think I was 13-ish, somewhere in there. A hard time to move, for sure. Yeah.
But you moved because your family moved.
Yeah,
somewhere.
my family moved.
And where were they moving and why?
We moved to Lawrenceville, New Jersey, because my dad got work at Princeton University.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And was that fun? I mean, here I just poured 4 margaritas.
Whoa!
One for you, one for the station management. Cheers!
Cheers! L'chaim!
L'chaim!
L'chaim! I have a hairball. Shabbat shalom. I don't know any of it.
To life.
To life, right? That's what I meant. Cheers. What are the other ones?
That's delicious.
Skol. No, Prost. There's other ones.
Oh, yeah, Sante.
Yeah. Sante.
So you grew these jalapenos in your own garden?
Yes.
And what kind of jalapenos are they?
Jalapenos.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it looks like a red one.
Yeah, they're red. Did you know that there are red jalapenos?
I do.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I actually I was like, why are my jalapenos red? And they said, because you left them on the vine too long.
Oh, really?
And they get hotter. Well, not too long, just longer than, most people leave them on.
Beyond green.
Yeah, and I guess they get hotter as you let them sit.
Well, this thing packs a little bit of a
It's
heat
got some
punch.
heat. Yeah, and I only put, I think, 3 slices in there.
On the,
3 or 4
what is
slices.
it? It's called the Scoville scale, Scoville units for heatness,
for heat.
capsicum.
Mm-hmm.
So did you grow up, I mean, New Mexico is famous, especially for hatch chilies.
Yep.
Did you grow up eating spicy food?
Oh, God, yeah, totally. Yeah, chilies. Absolutely.
And then when you moved to Lawrenceville, was it hard to find that same
Yeah,
fix?
I mean, you didn't find, we would go to Mexican restaurants, but even East Coast Mexican food is really, really different.
Right.
Yeah, it's just different. Not to say it's bad, but it's not New Mexican food,
Right.
The way they do the beans, and there's just really specific, even textures, the way they refry the beans, all different details, the tortillas, just slightly different, so.
And do you find the ingredients that you want around here at all? I mean,
I don't really cook Mexican food much. I mean, I cook I'll make like street taco type food, but I don't get into like New Mexico cooking. No.
Right.
Someday I would like to, but I've been raising my kids and working, and but it's something I'd like to explore.
And how many kids?
7.
7, that's good.
Yeah.
So you've had plenty of time for your other careers.
No, I have 2, but it feels like 7.
Yeah. And there, did you say 12th grade and 7th grade?
12th and 8th.
12th and 8th.
Yeah. So 13 and 17 years old.
Are they listening now?
No.
Will they listen ever, do you think? No.
No, they have absolutely zero interest in anything I have to say or do.
How do you feel about that?
It's wonderful.
Is it? How come?
It's wonderful.
It broke my heart. I'm like, hey, kids, I'm doing fun stuff.
They're like, whatever, Dad.
Yeah, never cared.
Because, you want your kids to fly. you know,
Yeah,
and they don't care. They're like, if anything, I'm an embarrassment to them. Like, really? You're going to play guitar, Mom? You know.
Well, they must hear you practicing.
Yeah,
around
constantly.
the house.
Yeah, they drown it out. They have headphones on.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And what are they listening to when they're headphones? While
Well, my son's gaming. He's all
Okay.
about the video games. And Georgia, my daughter, loves music, but she's like Taylor Swift. She's in that realm. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Tay-Tay.
Olivia Rodriguez, Tay-Tay.
And you said George, my daughter?
Georgia.
Oh, Georgia.
George, my daughter.
Yeah. Well, that's why I came back.
Well,
to
you
I'm
never
like,
know these days.
You
She could,
never know.
but she is.
Or that could just be the name you gave this.
Yeah. A beautiful
baby
little
girl, yeah.
But no, it's Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah.
That's better. I mean, it's
Better than George.
I love the name Georgia, but George, there was a whole story down there. Like, why in the world did you name a kid George? Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia.
Lovely. And so neither of them really super musical?
Well, Georgia definitely is interested in music. She's taken piano lessons. She actually just started again, and she sings all the time. You know, so we'll hear her. It's hilarious. She brings her iPhone in the shower and blasts the music and sings to it at full voice.
The
and we
Taylor
laugh.
Swift stuff.
Yeah, all the Taylor Swift, all that. So she loves music. My son listens to some music, but it doesn't seem like on the forefront like it is with her.
Right.
Yeah.
And do they ever weigh in on your singing or playing?
No, they don't really listen to. I mean, they really don't. No,
So
they have nothing much to say about it.
You've got a newish album out.
Yeah, I released an album. Well, it's been now definitely over a year that I released it. And I really, because of COVID, I didn't get out there and promote it much.
Right.
So I've been doing these little things like I did Morton, I did John's show. Now I'm doing yours. Just getting around the best I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. COVID really took the wind out of the sales of releasing an album for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And had you released an album prior to this one?
With my band.
Okay.
I released 4 different albums with my band Jake.
And you found that the touring, the pre-lockdown, marketing, the touring behind that really helped sales.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You kind of had to tour,
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And who is this band, Jake?
So Jake was my band. Jake was my nickname growing up. My family calls me Jake. My brothers do. My mom did. And I put it together with a drummer, Steve Jagoda. And then we had a bass player join along the way. And then my ex-husband joined the band as second guitar player. Okay. And then it crumbled into a lot of different pieces. And we had different rhythm sections along the way. And then I had kids, and it was impossible to do it. Right. Yeah.
And at some point, I read you put down the guitar for like 16 or 17 or 18 years.
It was 13 years. I didn't play a note almost.
Wow. And so during
and I didn't know if I ever would again.
And what did that feel like? The idea that you dropped it and might never pick it up.
Well, I was so busy, and so, I was running a small business. I had a yoga studio at the time. I had 2 young kids, and it just didn't seem possible, like enough hours in the day, the bandwidth, the energy, the time. It just wasn't there. So I needed to take a break. It had been an unrelenting pursuit for 20 years. Wow. And I was ready to step away, but I didn't realize I'd step away for 13 years, Right. And I thought about playing again. I knew I wanted to play guitar again. I knew that I wanted to play with other people again, but I didn't know if I would ever do it in an organized way, like start a band and do that whole thing again.
Wow. And so how did it come to pass then that after 13 years off, you decided to pick it up again and do what? Just to goof around, noodle around, or? Yeah, so it's interesting because it's some of the local. So do you know the Tom Pretties? Yeah. Yeah, Dunya. So I was the original Tom Petty. I was the original front person in that band. Oh, nice. Yeah. And so I was learning Tom Petty songs, and it was great for me because I was just starting to play again, and it was covers, so I didn't have to write anything. I was just sort of, learning cover songs, and that's what got me back into picking up the guitar again.
is learning Tom Petty songs. And then it was really, I ultimately just at that point felt like, why am I even, like, I need to be doing my music, not Tom Petty's music.
Right.
So, and Dunya wanted more intensity, more time, more, and so it was just the right time for us to part ways.
So you had friends who were doing this Tom Petty cover band called the Tom Pretties, which I love
Tom
the
Pretties.
name.
It's all female.
And one of them knew your history and said, "Hey, you used to play. You want to pick up?"
Yeah, for someone that I knew, Dunya, it was like a mutual friend of ours had said, "Why don't you ask Jessie? I heard she plays guitar." And so Dunya reached out to me, and I was like, "Sure, I'll try that." And I was just looking forward to, playing again.
Right.
Yeah, and then I realized it was really, I didn't really want to be in a cover band.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's a lot of time and energy that you spend.
I'll bet on somebody else's creation. And by this point, you had 4 albums out with Jake.
With Jake.
Of mostly original material.
Yep.
And so it's a whole different thing, pouring your heart into your material, I would think, than somebody else's.
Yeah, definitely.
You have a favorite Petty song?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love Refugee.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an amazing, amazing song.
Yeah. He has so many. And the band, the Heartbreakers are one of the most underestimated, underappreciated bands of all time. That guitar player's unreal.
Could you play us
Mike
a few
Campbell.
bars of Refugee?
No. You think I remember that? This brain
somebody must have.
It goes to empty really
some.
fast.
Yeah.
It goes to empty really fast. So yeah.
All right. Well, I'll let you off the hook, but you must remember most of the lyrics that you've written. Do you remember by heart all the songs on the latest album?
Maybe.
Right. And so if you had been touring to promote that, a year or so ago, would you have used a cheat sheet?
Oh, good question. Probably not. Maybe for the cover songs.
Right.
Yeah.
And are there 2 cover songs?
There's 2 covers. Yeah, Strawberry Letter 23 and I'm Not in Love by 10cc. So the cover songs are always harder for me to remember than my own stuff.
And how did you choose these songs?
Well, I just loved them. I like the 70s, the era of the 70s a lot. I like the fashion. I like the energy of that time. I like the music. So, it was kind of it's my era that I relate to from a creative perspective. Right. So.
And it says somewhere that Strawberry 23, whatever it's called, was by Shuggie Otis.
Yeah, he wrote it.
But it was made famous by somebody else.
Yeah,
right?
the Brothers Johnson.
Oh, right.
Yep.
And so, presumably, I'm guessing that was the first version of it that you were exposed to.
Yes, the Brothers Johnson version. And then I found the Shuggie Otis, which I actually prefer his version. Uh-huh. Yep. He wrote a several hit songs, Shuggie Otis, and had other people. I can't remember what they are, but he was a pretty amazing songwriter. Right. That other people covered his songs and did better with them than he did himself. Right. Yeah.
Any ideas why? What was his performance tick that kept him from?
I don't know. It's a good question.
And here's some questions. Do you have a favorite songwriter of all time, or who are some of the favorites?
That's a toughie. Well, probably Chris Whitley's probably one of my favorite songwriters of all time. Uh-huh. Do you know him?
No.
I really recommend looking up Chris. He's dead now, but he's got many albums out, and he's amazing. Uh-huh. Incredible. Jeez, I don't know. I like Peter Gabriel's songs a lot. I think Sting's a really good songwriter. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so when you say that, you're talking about the lyrics and the music, the whole package?
Yeah, the whole pack. Exactly. The melody, the lyrics, and the music.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you remember as a kid, like, tuning into certain songs?
All the time. The radio. I listened to the radio incessantly, and I would memorize all the words and just sing to the radio constantly.
And so this is in the 70s?
Yes, 70s and 80s.
And so rock and roll, disco?
Rock and roll. I loved disco. Uh-huh. And I loved the 80s. I loved like REM, U2, The Police.
Right.
Yeah.
Talking Heads?
Talking Heads, love them.
Did you see the Stop Making Sense re-release?
I didn't see the re-release, but I worked at the 8th Street Playhouse in New York City.
Uh-huh.
It's the last independent movie theater in New York.
Wow.
And I was the candy girl when Stop Making Sense was playing there.
Nice.
The first time.
So did you get to see it?
Oh, my God. Every day.
So it was 83. You must have been like 12 or something.
Yep. I was underage.
And
Slinging milk duds.
And yeah. And
cold?
jujubes.
And jujubes.
And were you living in Lawrenceville at that point in time?
No, I was. By then, I was. Well, maybe partially. I would go in I lived with my dad, my stepmom, and my mom lived in New York City. So I'd go in on the weekends.
Okay.
And then my senior year in high school, I moved in full time with my mom and graduated high school.
And what kind of high school did you go to in New York City?
I went to the professional children's school, so it was for kids that were involved in usually acting or music outside of school. So it wasn't like the FAME school where they're doing stuff in school. It's for kids who had professional engagements outside of school where they could, their school could adapt to their schedules.
Like I miss class. I'm playing Giant Stadium.
Exactly. And I was just auditioning at that point. I wanted to be an actor, and I was auditioning for soap operas and commercials and blah, blah, blah. So so that's where I went.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that must have been kind of fun being
It was
amongst
awesome.
people who had similar dreams
It was
as you.
amazing. It was so fun. And it was so easy compared to, academically, compared to the school in Jersey.
Right.
Yeah, I was I got straight A's my senior year, and I barely, it was just the academics were not stringent.
Yeah. I read The Greatest Thing the other day that I wish I'd seen when I was a young parent, though I think hopefully I did this. It said if your kid is struggling at math and really good at tennis, don't get them a math tutor, get them a tennis coach. Wow. And it's that makes so much sense. And it sounds a little bit like that was your high school experience. It's academics, we're going to support you as you develop your art.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and look where it got me.
Well, your resume seems pretty impressive. Even the things we've touched on here.
Just not financially. Creatively, extremely.
Yeah, well, I know that.
Yeah.
But would you change anything when you look back on your life of being an artist, being a parent, of sort of scratching your creative itches, and dreaming the dream of it working out financially as well? Right. Would you change anything?
I might have pursued acting a little bit longer. I think that was something that I miss, I miss acting. And it's not to say I might, I could do it again. But it's daunting.
And in what way? Is it differently daunting than standing up on stage with a guitar and singing a song you wrote?
Well, it would be like learning how to audition again for a part.
Oh, I see.
Working on monologues.
So daunting to get back into.
Yeah, back into it to, do shows.
Right.
Daunting, it's possible, but it's just one more thing. When would I do that?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a 12th grader.
I know.
Soon you'll just have a 9th grader.
Yeah.
And then soon you'll have lots of free time.
Maybe.
Does their dad live nearby?
In Catskill.
Okay.
Yep.
So do they split their time, or are they mostly?
They're mostly with me.
Okay.
Weekends or every other weekend with him, depending.
Right.
Yep.
So soon enough, 4 years or so, you're going to have a lot of free time.
Maybe. We will see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. You can tell me. Did you get freed up when your kids left?
I got freed up. I felt it during the lockdown because I only had one kid left at home at that point, and I said, "Look, dude, you're not going back and forth," because we're all terrified of the corona thing, and I said, "You got to choose." And he didn't even give a courtesy scratch of his head. He's like, "Moms." I'm like, and inside I'm like, "Fuck you," and then crying. I was like, "Okay." And then later I think I asked him why. He said all my stuff is there. They had they'd gotten a dog who lived there, and room, lots of space. She lived outside of town on a lake and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So
because you live in town. That seems to me like more of the desire.
That's what I thought would go for that decision.
Right,
but evidently
right.
did not.
Yeah.
But so all of a sudden, that was the big shock of having a lot more time.
Right.
Happened then.
So it really did happen, though. You were like, wow, I've got time to do. Did you utilize it?
Oh, it was so crazy productive.
Really?
And for me, I really feed on feeling I've had a productive day.
Right.
Or week or month or year or whatever. So that first year of the lockdown, I missed my boy. He'd come and hang out in the veranda and we'd have socially distanced dinner. Mm-hmm. Be like, no, you're not coming inside. Stay out here. Mm-hmm. I took it all very seriously.
Yeah.
But super productive for me.
Bet more. Eating more, Mike.
Eat more, Mike.
Eat more, Mike.
High in iron, which is important. So you were spending part of your time in the city with your mom,
yep.
and then working at the 8th Street Playhouse during that, and at this school for artistic kids.
PCS, yep.
And were there, you said it was not an arts school, not everybody's performing in school.
Right.
But were there some art classes?
There was, we had drama class. I don't remember taking art class, like visual art, but there was music and drama that I remember in my schedule. There might have been art, but I don't think I took it. But yeah, they had chorus. I was singing the chorus, and then I had a great acting teacher there, and we did drama.
And were there auditions you went out for that you just thought, oh, this is it? Or that somebody else got and became famous for?
No. I did part-time stuff on Another World, on that soap opera. Yep, and I auditioned for a couple of commercials. And then, I wanted to go to Julliard and got on the waiting list of Julliard, and then they didn't choose anybody from the waiting list. Like everybody who got accepted went, because you don't turn down Julliard.
Right.
Yeah. And then I was going to just take a year off and audition again. But then I moved and my life started playing music. That's when I started playing music, and my whole life changed course.
And you moved to Madison, Wisconsin?
Yeah.
How the hell did that happen?
Oh, my God. I don't know. My mom was like, you're going to college. She didn't want me to take a, quote, gap year.
Right.
She was worried about what was going to happen during that time. So she really wanted me to go, and I found in Madison, they had a really interesting acting program there, and where they brought a lot of Eastern philosophy into it. And there was an Indian martial art called Kalari Payat being taught, and there was Tai Chi being taught. It was very, looking back, and I was like, wow, that's just darn right weird. But I was drawn to Eastern thought and Eastern philosophy, and I thought, well, that sounds really interesting, so I'm going to go there. And I got in
on the strength of really that one.
Yeah,
those few classes.
Those two classes in their acting program that were really so interesting to me, to use like Eastern approach to theater and movement and training the body and training,
right,
using discipline and all of that, and that was really appealing to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. And so do those things show up? Do they help you in other parts of your life now? Those things you learned in those classes?
Oh, sure. I got really into yoga years later, and actually traveled to India to study yoga.
Oh, sweet. Where in India?
I was in Kerala, India. So
down south.
Yep, the most southern state.
And where in Kerala?
It was a tiny little village called Nerdam, and there was an ashram there. Uh-huh. And I lived on the ashram and studied yoga intensively and got certified to teach it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long? How long was the program?
It was, I think 3 months I was there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What a treat.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really, really transforming. And India, I would like to go back, but you've got to have thick skin there. It's the suffering that you witness is really, really intense.
Right.
Yeah.
Though I spent a bunch of time in India and 3 weeks in Kerala, actually, which seemed to have less suffering than other parts of India.
Mm-hmm. Where have you gone?
Where did I go? Mumbai, New Delhi, Agra, and then 3 weeks in Kerala, traveling all around.
Cool. When did you do that?
Oh boy, let's see. My boy Moss was like 5 or 6, so doing the math off of him, 13 years ago.
Wow, cool.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So you studied, was it a particular type of yoga that you're...
Yeah, well, it was Shivananda yoga.
I don't know.
And it's just a set, they have like a set thing that you learn. But that's not what I ended up teaching. It was just to get my certification. So I had a teacher here, actually in Woodstock, Barbara Boris, who kind of mentored me and said, you should go here and do this. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go and do that. So she said, go do the Shivananda. She said, go to India. You got to see India if you're going to be serious about yoga. And so I did, and she said, do this training. It'll be, relatively safe and contained. You'll be on an ashram, and it's very disciplined. It's like boot camp for yogis. You're up at 5, you're, chanting, meditating. I mean, before you have a cup of tea or coffee, you're like up doing all this stuff. I mean, it's literally like a form of torture. I kid you not. I was like, I would cut off my arm for a sip of tea right now. Please, Jesus.
My next question was going to be, do you maintain any of those habits you picked up there? But I'm guessing if it was that tortuous.
Well, I still do yoga.
Yeah, there you go. But you don't.
But I don't get up at 5 a.m. No way.
Do you still meditate?
I meditate, yeah.
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 That's nice. I did that for a year or so. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I loved it so much. And every day I'm like, why don't I do that anymore?
Yeah.
But I just fell out of the habit.
And what form did you do? Because there's so many different kinds.
I closed my eyes and sort of just concentrated on my breath.
Yeah.
That was it. It was so simple.
Right. It is so simple.
I breathe in through one nostril and then out the other for like the first minute or whatever. And then just concentrate on my breath. It was super peaceful.
Yeah.
And I found, this was the amazing thing. I found, because I was writing something at the time, I found my mental acuity and my creativity and like the words coming in, the right word coming in was definitely up like 20%, like a lot. I really felt that in my creative pursuits.
Right. That it affected your abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. So will you strategically meditate when you're, say, writing a song? Like
No. Although, it's not a bad idea.
Right.
Yeah, the way you're saying it and the way you're kind of distilling it is like, that's not a bad idea to like sit, like, okay, I'm going to write now and sit and do that.
But when you're working on a song, I'm guessing you're kind of obsessing about it, thinking about it as much as you can.
Sure.
You think about it on your way into sleep and think about it in the morning when you wake up. So those are sort of meditative
Yeah,
times.
I mean, really, anytime you're doing, and when I'm a hairstylist, hairdresser, so if I'm in the midst of doing like a blow dry or something, like I'll be running things over in my head, where you can, any kind of activity that's repetitive, you can start to, meditative. Can be meditative.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
So have you ever gone so deep down a rabbit hole in that meditative moment of dressing the hair where you pop out and you're like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have cut right there.
Sorry about those micro bangs.
Yeah. Micro
I
bangs.
know we didn't discuss that, but
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very dangerous. Working on people's heads is only like in a blow dry situation where I don't have any sharp tools.
Right.
Yeah, when I'm just doing something, not that's going to affect their hair for a really long time.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you get from this ashram in India and, learning about yoga, meditation, all that shit, to become a hairdresser?
Oh my God, it's been a circuitous route. Well,
we got time.
Yeah, we got time to kill. So I got back to the States. I became a yoga teacher. I worked at a yoga studio in Woodstock for a really long time.
Wait a minute. How did you get up here?
So I got signed. I signed a record deal when I was living in New York City.
Amazing.
I signed a record deal and made an album. And this was with my band Jake. At Bearsville Studios.
Wait, the huge one up on the hill?
Yes. Yes.
Which they tore it down.
They did. I've been wondering about that. What happened to that
they
studio?
Tore it down, And I lived in Woodstock for a number of years.
Tear that down.
And people, and you can't live in Woodstock without knowing a shit ton of musicians.
Yeah.
And they all said that the one room, the big room at Bearsville Studio, was famous for its sound, that they'd never been in a room that had that warmth of a room tone.
Right.
It was an amazing place. Gold records. The hallways just lined with hundreds of gold records.
Unbelievable recording studio. It was one of the great events of my life, is recording there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I loved it, and I wanted to get out of the city, so I just moved up.
To Woodstock.
Yeah, I lived in Woodstock.
Nice.
Yep.
And this is before kids.
Before kids. It was before yoga. I was doing yoga, but I wasn't thinking that I would teach yoga yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that sort of works in the timeline. Went to Woodstock, got into yoga, moved to India. You're like, wow, way to just reduce it.
To like eat, drink, and pray, or whatever the hell that show is. Oh, God,
yeah.
Eat, drink, and drink a little more.
Yeah.
That's my version.
Well, so what was it like? How many days were you working in the Bearsville studio?
Well, when we went there, it was really concentrated. I mean, we lived right on the premises. There was a little place we could live, and we would go get up, and we started at 10 in the morning recording.
Which is early for musicians.
Yeah, brutal. I was like, 10 a.m. Are you kidding me? But,
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did, I don't know, we tracked everything in probably 2 weeks. And then we went back to the city to do overdubs. And it didn't work out with that studio. So the guy that owned the label rebooked Bearsville, the smaller studio. And we did all the overdubs there. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing probably took 3 weeks or 4 weeks to make.
So were you in the huge cavernous room for the first sessions?
We recorded in the barn.
Okay.
Which is where, like, famous for, like, Fish would take over the barn sometimes, and
the barn down by the Bear Cafe?
It was, like, down the... No. It was near the other two studios.
Okay.
So there was Studio A and Studio B. Studio A was the big studio.
Right.
Like a church, almost. Yeah. Studio B was a small studio connected to Studio A, and then down the hill a little bit was an actual barn that was renovated into be a recording studio.
Nice.
And the barn had really the coolest vibe to it. It was really, really amazing in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. And so when's the last time that you were in the studio? In a studio?
Like not a home studio. That's a good question.
Right, a home studio it must be a very different vibe than being a professional studio.
Yeah, the last time I was in a studio was I can't really say when that was. Probably a studio in the city called Funkadelic that's not there anymore.
Uh-huh.
I was doing some overdubs on a live song that we had recorded. I think that's what I recall being the last time I was in a big, studio.
Right.
Yeah.
We being Jake.
Yes.
And so what happened to Jake? We
disintegrated. Just normal band stuff. Yeah.
But also, it sounds like your ex-husband was part of the band.
Yep. But I decided to just take a break from the band, even he was still in it. We were still married, but I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I was ready to have kids, and I didn't want to just keep the unrelenting, tour, make an album tour. It was just felt really exhausting.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, exhausting.
And not helpful if you're hoping to have kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew that I was going to have to change my lifestyle. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And the lifestyle, was it sort of sex and drugs and rock and roll?
A little bit.
A little rock and roll lifestyle?
To a degree. Not debauchery by any means. The drugs was smoking weed, and that's it.
It's cable radio. You can cop to anything. But you played at CB's Gallery, the Mercury Lounge, the Knitting Factory, the Wetlands.
Yeah, all the big clubs.
Arlene Grocery. Yeah, and the living room, all these sort of Lower East Side famous places.
Yeah.
And it sort of begs to consider that lifestyle, that rock and roll lifestyle.
Definitely, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I was ready to not be doing that anymore. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. For pulling it out of that.
Yeah, and surviving.
And for then having the kids.
Yeah. It actually worked out.
But listen, as expected, the time is just like zipping away from us.
Oh, yeah,
You're
yeah.
sitting here with your guitar.
Oh, yeah, but that's okay.
Which you kindly agreed to bring. Would you play a song for us?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And what are you going to play?
This is a song that I used to perform with Jake, my band, and it's called Liberty.
Okay.
Liberty. She's riding on the train called Justice. Liberty. She ain't living here among us, and she ain't stopping at your stop. No, she ain't changing your bad luck. She ain't stopping at your stop. No, she ain't changing your bad luck. Liberty. She wears her smile like a crown. Liberty. She is turning his world upside down, and she ain't stopping at your stop. No, she ain't changing your bad luck. She ain't stopping at your stop. She ain't changing your bad luck. You're standing on the edge of everything she ever said, just waiting here. Do you see what's spinning his eye to eye? There's no reply. The question that will never die is, will you let me in? Liberty. She's riding on that train called Justice. Liberty. She ain't living here among us. She ain't stopping at your stop. She ain't changing your bad luck. She ain't stopping at your stop. She ain't changing your bad luck. And you're standing on the edge of everything she ever said. I'm just waiting here to see what's spinning eye to eye. No reply. The question that will never die is, will you let me in?
That is so good. I love that so much. And how does it feel doing that? You performed that song a number of times before, right?
Long time ago.
Right.
Really long time ago.
Like all of a sudden, I'm remembering on Miles Viles, that Joni Mitchell double
album.
album,
Oh yeah.
where somebody screams like "Play Circle Game" or something. She laughs and says,
Right.
"It's weird. Nobody ever said to Van Gogh, hey, paint Starry Night again." Man.
Yeah.
And she sort of talks about like having to play a song over and over.
Right. Yeah.
Like I'm going tomorrow night to see Violent Femmes.
Oh, cool.
I'm like, they better play "Blister in the Sun."
Oh yeah, they better.
And they know that's what everybody thinks.
I know.
So what is it?
Yeah, so this is interesting because I haven't played some of these older songs forever. So they're kind of fun to play again.
Right.
But at the time, like playing Liberty, at the time I was touring and blah, 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 I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, see, that's why I was always drawn to playing in a band, because it could be fun just jamming with the other people. It was
Right.
it was its own entertainment for me. Whereas it's with me and a guitar, it's a little less entertaining for me.
Right.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's why I was always wanted to be in a band, because it was just so much more fun to play with other people.
So what percentage of that song you just played is how you've always played it? What percentage is like, oh, this is a little new?
Probably 80% how I always played it, 20% just doing new stuff, new arrangement, changing it up. And that's the good thing about playing solo, is that you can just, at the drop of a hat, change something.
Right.
And you don't have to let anybody know.
But playing a band, I'm guessing you're often surprised by somebody, another bandmate, doing something maybe a little different.
Yeah, or they're mad at you because they're like, why'd you do that? We weren't planning that. You can't do that. We didn't rehearse that. You know, you're more beholden to like what you've organized, like how you're going to present this song tonight, right?
Right.
And when you're playing solo, there's a real freedom that I realized, like, oh yeah, that's kind of fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a song queued up from your latest album.
Sure.
It's called Trouble. And I'd love to hear that now as sort of a counterpoint to this beautiful singer-songwriter.
Yeah, great.
Live.
Yeah, this is off my album Unhooked that I released a year or so ago.
Which people can get if they go to Jessie, Jessie, Lee, Lee, Montague.
Yep.
.com, JessieLeeMontague.com. And they can like order that album.
They can.
Right off your website.
And it's everywhere. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming. And I have CDs.
Right. Oh, good. Well, here it is, Trouble.
Once more, just a night knocking on my front door, and I wonder why, and I wonder what for. And I let her in, I said, where you been? And it's been so long, just keeping it in, and I've been so strong, and I wonder what it's for. And I lay myself down on the street, and I lay myself down at your feet, and I lay myself down on me. Get on me. Get on me. And I sit right back and share a few laughs. Come up for air, we forgot to ask. And that bitter stare, it lead us down that broken path. Relax and breathe, she said to me. We walked 4 miles, but you never did see an aisle. At the aisle of the deeper blue of frozen sea. And I lay myself down on the street, and I lay myself down at your feet, and I lay myself down. And I lay myself down on the street, and I lay myself down at your feet, and I lay myself down.
What is that noise at the end?
He based that on my giggle, the drummer.
Oh, yeah?
He did all the programming, and he literally based that on my giggle at the end of the take.
That's hilarious.
I was like, I love that.
A synthesized version of your giggle.
And it was. And he was going to take it, he put it in as a joke, and I was like, no, you have to keep that in. That is the greatest thing.
That's so good.
Because after every take, I start laughing.
Right.
It's like, and so he digitized it and put it in there.
So
it
cool.
Was awesome.
Well, that song is so fucking amazing. I mean, it just really rocks. I love that song to bits.
Thank you.
And as it was playing, you were lip syncing a bunch of it here. And it made me think about, musicians, singers especially, shooting music videos. And you've got a bunch of music videos.
Yeah.
And where they're playing the track and the musicians lip syncing to the track.
Yeah.
And presumably that's what you did for your music videos.
Yeah, totally. It's an art in and of itself. Milli Vanilli, they were no joke.
Yeah.
They were no joke.
Milli Vanilli. They were a punchline, but no joke. So music videos. Is there a music video of this song, Trouble?
Trouble. Yeah, there is.
Oh.
Yep. It's on the if you go to the website, I believe it's on there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we made a video for that one.
Yeah, I want to check it out.
Yeah, you should.
I must have heard it. I was listening to music today as I sort of like reading everything I could find about you.
Right.
Yeah.
It should be there.
And that was the song that I heard somewhere. I'm like, oh, this is the song I love so much.
Right. Great.
So
cool.
At some point in your past, before kids, I'm guessing, you spent a year in London.
I did, yeah.
And you were busking?
Yes. So I was playing in the tubes. I got the crazy idea that I wanted to go make my living as a street musician in Europe.
The subways of
places
London,
in the
tubes.
subways of London, because I heard you could actually do that. You could actually make a living doing that.
Right.
So I went to London with a friend and with a couple of guitars, and learned this whole system there for buskers. It's very intense. It's like a whole organized underground world happening there, because it's illegal, or it was when I was doing it. And so people would come and start a list, and they'd roll up the list and slide it behind a poster in a tube, hallway, and you would go and sign up for called the pitch. Your spot is the pitch. You'd sign up for the time, and then wait for your time slot to come, and then go. And if the bobbies, the cops, moved somebody off the pitch, the list would get broken, and you would lose your spot.
Okay.
So it really was this whole underground world.
And who originated these lists?
The first people at the spot, at the pitch, would start the list.
Right.
The first person there would start the list.
And so were you that first person often?
Never, no.
Because you're not waking up till 10. Yeah, or noon or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I was not doing the 5 a.m., but you could get and you wanted to try to get 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., rush hour. And there were certain spots there was going to be more people.
People were happier getting off of work, heading home after a pint or whatever.
Yep. And so you wanted to get those spots. But it was tough, because if the list got broken, you would spend all day waiting for that 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. slot, and then the list would be gone by the time you got there.
And how long were the slots?
I think it was half an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, half hour.
That's not very long.
No. But,
So you'd have a half an hour. Would you get a half an hour in different spots? So
I would get up and go and then sit in a pub and have a pint and a bowl of mutton and then wait and go sign up and try to get a few different, pitches through the day.
Just amazing.
It was so crazy. I couldn't believe how organized it was, but also how archaic. Are you okay, well, now what?
Right.
You could just lose, and then you had no money.
Right.
It was a big deal to lose your spot.
And how much? What was a good day busking in the underground there?
Oh, you can make $100 or so.
Right.
Yeah, you can make $100.
Which is enough to get you by.
Yeah, get you by. I mean, I was living in really, we'd meet people, youth hostels, and I mean, it was all very casual and fly by night. Yeah.
And where were you living at that point?
All different places.
Just wherever.
Just wherever I could land.
You had one bag and one guitar.
I had a backpack and a
one
guitar.
Friend.
Yep. And she fell in love and left me. Can you believe that? So then it was just me. It was brutal.
And is she still with this person?
No. They broke up.
Well.
It never works out.
It never works out. And of the songs you've written in your life, how many of them are "It Never Works Out" songs?
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not always about relationships. It's more about the human condition. Or I'll bring in. It might sound like I'm talking about a relationship, but I'm actually talking about, a political party or a country or a. So right. I tend to. It sounds like all my songs are about relationships, but I'm actually talking about other things.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you almost always have some song going that you're working on?
Yeah, always. As soon as I hear a beat, I'll start writing a song.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I would just start writing.
And so where do you hear these beats? They pop into your head?
We'll find them on the computer. Now that I don't have... I mean, we just started working with a drummer, so hopefully that will develop. But we've just been using Logic. My boyfriend plays bass and keyboards. And so we get on the computer.
He was there the other night at that event as well.
Yeah. And so we get the groove going, and then I'll just start writing over it.
Where do you find the beats online?
In Logic. They're all there.
But people make them.
Yep.
And put them up.
They put them up. Logic has literally a person playing a snare, certain kind of drum with a certain kind of hit for a certain kind of music. And you can literally make a beat from a live person playing one drum at a time and create a loop
So when you're searching in Logic for
Yeah.
beats, I'm guessing you need to type in some search criteria, a couple of words. What do you type in?
Rock,
Uh-huh.
funky, singer-songwriter,
And is there
to kind of narrow it down.
What's new and what's hot category in all those?
Not really that I know of. It's all in there. It's all democratic. It's not like this is the latest beat that everybody's using. It's just
All right, now I'm
just a
going
list of
to
stuff.
ask you to beatbox the last beat that really captured your imagination.
Oh, the last beat that captured my imagination. Oh my God.
I love that you paused on that and not the beatbox challenge.
Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to say it? I'm
Yeah.
supposed to. No, that doesn't work. That's the hairball.
Yeah. The kitty cat beatbox.
Yeah, no, beatbox I cannot do.
Right.
No.
Okay.
But Logic has incredible drums.
So is that how it happens? You hear the beat and it's just evocative.
For me, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'll start to just playing guitar and write a song, but mostly I'll start a groove. I start a
Okay.
groove with a couple of chords, and then I just start writing.
Can you play me a groove so I can hear what you mean by a groove?
Yeah. That's a groove.
That's a lovely groove. So you wrote that groove, and it popped into your head somehow.
That's it. I sit down, I'll
Something.
start playing around, and I'll get a little groove, and then I'll just start writing lyrics, and then it just builds from there.
and fleshing it out.
Yep.
And what did this groove become?
It became a song called New Funk.
That's good. That's a
Yeah.
good groove for a song called New Funk. Well, we've got 8 minutes left, but
Whoa.
would you grace us with a little bit of New Funk, or are you
Sure.
not prepared to play that?
Yeah, I'll play
Great.
a little bit. Sure, yeah.
Great.
You ain't got nothing closer to truth than me. You don't want to get too close, you're afraid to breathe. And you don't understand my point of view. You can dress it up, you can lay it down, but can you see it through? And all of the while, the light slips slowly into gray, and I don't know if you're coming or you're going, you're so far away. Don't crash my heart again, and I will not let you in. Gonna wipe you up like a morsel of mercy dripping down my chin. Don't crash my heart again, and I will not let you in. But you better tattoo your love song. They're never coming back again. They're never coming back. And all of that while, the light slips slowly into gray, and I don't know if you're coming or you're going. You're so far away. And you've got a lot to. You've got a lot to learn. Oh, man. And
God. So good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That groove was amazing, and how nice to hear what sort of came on top of it.
Yeah.
What you put on top of it.
Yeah.
So you come up with a groove, and then how did the thoughts of what the song was going to be about, how did they come in?
It just, stream of consciousness, you
Right.
know? I just, like, words just start flowing. I mean, I always was a word person. I read a lot as a kid, and I wrote a lot of journals and, you know, poetry in quotes.
Yeah.
Wasn't really, you know, I was a writer, always writing thoughts, and so it just right away I'll just start coming up with words, and then, you know, I'll go back and refine, you know,
Right.
once I get kind of like a sketch of a song
Right.
down, and then I'll go back and refine and edit.
And do you own them, all these ideas, or sometimes do you think, like, I don't know, maybe there's a muse or something, they came into my life and I don't know.
I mean, sometimes it's hard to know. I do feel like art is mysterious in that ideas kind of move through artists,
Right.
and we're not necessarily, you know, now I'm going to write a song about, you know, it's just coming through you.
Right.
I think a lot of artists feel that way.
Yeah.
Do you feel that as a visual artist?
I do often.
Yeah.
You know, in whatever I'm doing, like, well, I don't know where that shit came from.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
hardly
it's
seems me.
mysterious.
And
Yeah.
people will say, "Wow, that was great." I'm like, "Right? Wasn't it?" like it's not mine. It's just I don't know how,
Right,
how it found
exactly.
me. To
Yeah,
get out,
it's
but-
not personal. Yeah.
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 So that was sort of where my question was coming from.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally feel the same way.
Yeah. So do you ever come up with a groove like that? This must happen, but maybe not, with music, which to me, like, making music is just magic.
Yeah.
You know, to like make music is magic. To make a painting, it's like whatever. You know, I saw that and I added a squiggle or a different color, whatever. But, you know, making music just seems like magic. Do you ever like make a groove and then somebody's like, oh, right, you know, that's like the Isley Brothers that did that in 1974.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I will. I can, you know, hear something and be like, oh, does that sound too much like ...
Right.
But I do that a lot with songs I hear on the radio. I'll be like, oh, that's 4 different songs. That's this and that and that and that. Like, I can
Right.
hear songs and be able
nice.
to, like, oh, that's that song and that's that song. Because they're all recycled ideas.
Right.
You know?
So you're happy to make a masala out of the different
Yeah,
ingredients.
because, listen, there's nothing original anymore, really.
Right.
Yeah, we're
That's
all
funny.
pulling from everything we've ever heard, you know, somewhere.
Right. But there is authentic.
There's authentic and different. I mean, it isn't, I'm not covering the Isley Brothers, but it might be something they influenced me, you know?
And is there a song out there right now that you're like, I want to cover that?
There's a Chris Whitley song that I've been working on that I really
What's it called? I want to go listen.
Oh, it's called Fire Road for Two.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris Whitley, Fire Road for Two.
All right, good. Well, we are sadly out of time.
All right.
Chris Whitley, Fire Road for Two.
Yeah.
I'm going to check it out.
Check it out.
Jessie Lee Montague, thank you so much for being here. So
Thank
much
you,
we
Norm.
didn't get to.
Yeah.
Like your brother, Ty Montague. Is he listening?
No, he doesn't listen to anything that I do.
Oh, boy. There's a whole nother show. Maybe we should do that with Allison. Thanks for being here. Have a happy Friday, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And Jessie Lee Montague, what a treat.
Thanks so much, Norm.